Kamen Rider Juga. Oh my god, I want that Juga driver so bad. So bad. But I can't afford it. Literally, I've got no more money. I am negative money. How do I counteract this? Kuga. 10 Vice stamps. We can make this into a thing. We're gonna do this. Fuck it. Low budget Juga. Let's go. Wait. No. Not again. Every time I try doing a henshin that goes botched, this happens. Okay, well, I guess we've only got a couple of episodes of Revice left, so we're just gonna have to deal with it for now. My god. Rushing to get to the finish line would be an understatement for this episode. Tonal whiplash, accelerated memory loss, and they are still trying to plant seeds? Let's just go ahead and muscle our way through this latest episode of Revice, shall we? We get a bit of a clip show going over the major plot points of this series thus far. Of course, some time has passed since Gifu's end, since the events of the Chimera special and the movie Battle Familia all take place between the previous episode and this one. We are shown a massive tonal shift in George's personality. Could this be related to how things ended up in that movie? Well, for those of us not living in Japan, without looking up a synopsis online, we have to wait until likely early next year until we find this out. But you know, the show won't give us any of that context anyway. Just as I theorized in my last review, George has indeed gone full chaotic good. Called it. And is now trying to cleanse the world of its demons and the root of it all. Meanwhile, also eliminating the driver system in the process. Trying to live a normal life yet again, we see at the happy spot that Genta has finally recovered from his itis and is back at it again with the wacky content creation. Though, it would appear that the news media is aware of more than what we thought, pointing out that although Gifu is indeed defeated, there are still those that carry his cells still walking around. So, is the world gonna go against the Igarashis? Yukimi is not about to let the news get to her kids. With swift domino dodging, the siblings all leave until Love Cove ruins the whole setup. Genta just wanted to fix the dominoes from the last time they tried to set this up. But Iki forgot this was even a thing. It's almost like Toei forgetting that these plot points ever existed. Thus, we are now reminded yet again of Iki's memory loss. Because why not? Hana, following through with her words with Ortega a couple episodes back, catches up to Sakura to let her know that she's gonna go ahead and turn herself in now that everything is over. Though, it's Crazy George here to try and clean house instead. He's already taken down weekend troopers and is working his way up the food chain to make sure everything is completely cleared up. Y'all ready for a late second subplot that I'm sure will end up being the thing that cures George of this entire madness? Well, at Weekend Base, Hiromi and former main character Hikaru are there, trying to clean up shop. That's when Hiromi finds a photo of a young George and Masumi playing around in a room. That's when new main character Tamaki calls them upstairs to check on something. There's a mysterious stain on the floor in the upstairs room. Though, Hikaru mentions that it's always been there, so I don't know why Tamaki thought that stain would just be cleaned with a rag, but we'll address this plotline after. Meeting back with the content creator from the early days of Revice, he invites Iggy and Vice over to a gathering, but that gets squashed quickly when Tamaki calls to warn about George's attack on Hana. Holding off as little as he could, George wrecks his face with ease, but that is when Iki and Vice show up to the revelation of the mysterious Kamen Rider being George the whole time. I mean, of course, there was no build up to this. They already, had they not shown us him being transformed from the beginning, they could have played the mystery angle for, no, you know what, I'm going off on the tangent. Let's go. Let's just keep rushing through this like this whole episode is. He addresses their concerns as such. His ultimate driver has been completed. A belt for humans by humans, without the need of any demons. strictly relying on the power of the genomes of beasts. As such, with those who still possess a part of Gifu still around, humanity truly can't move forward. Called this last week. We get George's proper henshin, and y'all, okay, I like it and dislike it at the same time. There is no fear and no pain, but when they mention the genome mixes combining with that cocky pride, and when you realize that the driver's voice is actually voiced by Vegeta, that is pure chef's kiss. Ain't no one better to go ahead and make the voice of a driver with a cocky attitude than the Prince of Pride himself, Vegeta. Vice, not wanting to have Iki lose any more memories, figures that maybe if he is the only one that transforms, he won't really be affected. Though, the fight is relatively short due to the plot armor that is the driver still being unstable, and thus George has to exit. Having their asses served on a platter, the Igarashis chill at home with a massive amount of copiums to deal with. Though, when Mama-chan Yukimi and Daddy Genta show up, Iki doesn't remember them. Silence, as no one can even believe that it's gone this far. Actually, neither can I. That's a massive memory to lose in compared to previous ones, especially when he wasn't the one transforming to begin with. Obviously, now it's Yukimi and Genta that can't deal with the amount of copium that they've got, and it's too much for them to handle. And I mean, could those of y'all with kids watching ever think how you would react if your own child no longer recognized you or even remembered a thing about you? Once again, showing who the real actors are in the show, the amount of feels portrayed, especially from Yukimi, is too good to ignore. Meanwhile, the siblings have changed scenery for their amounts of copium. Daiji, remembering back to his first L, says that it's his fault Iki is like this now. Though, to be fair, he had his contract since he was a kid, so if Daiji did end up transforming into Revice, Iki probably would have still ended up joining the fight eventually because of Gifu cells. Iki, however, did this all for family. And what good is family if you can't even remember them? That's when Kagero chimes on in by stirring the pot even more. But, taking it back to basics, only he and Sakura can really take down George, while Iki and Vice have to take a backseat to it all. Daiji has another idea though. Meeting with George, he hands him their drivers, saying that if it's the drivers that he's after, then he can just go ahead and take them. But that's not the point that George was trying to get at. Rejecting his proposal with a long-awaited punch to Daiji's face, it's time for the showdown of the episode. Not holding back anything, Sakura transforms into... Wait, Base Genu? What happened to not holding back? Also, can that Vice Stamp just change on the fly? What the hell is even this? Realizing her mistake a little too late as Juga shows both her and Evolity Live just how amazing he can be, steamrolling through them both like this isn't even his final form yet. George keeps dealing blow after blow, even with Invincible Geno showing up. He proves that the Invincible really has an asterisk at the end, since it's only invincible until Ju got these hands to your face. It's a pun. Ju got. Please laugh. Not forgetting about the L-Man himself, Juga has one final finisher for him, with a raw-as-fuck rider kick straight to the back. Left with no other options, Iki grabs the Revice driver. This episode of Revice gives us an introduction to a new rider, 3 episodes before the end. And with that, let's talk forms. The Juga driver itself, being an upgraded version of the Chimera driver from the specials and movie, it's easy to see where the reused assets come from, since it's using both parts of Chimera and Daimon just repainted over with black, silver, and gold. Since those were already the unification of different Vice Stamps, it's fitting since this one combines all 10 of the original Vice Stamps of the show. The helmet is new, featuring an aesthetics that's similar to Kuga, with the entire color scheming being an homage to Ultimate Kuga. I went on a whole thing about the Trinity symbol all in my last review, so I won't go into that again, but overall, it's a really good reworked design. It's definitely better than the trash fires we got with Aguilera and Overdemons, but I would have been more salty if they did my boy George wrong. Though, as mentioned earlier, having the voice of Vegeta be the voice of the driver and adding that prideful nature of George, icing on the cake. Definitely a good writer design in my opinion. Rating time! So, this episode accelerates the plot in a way that feels very jarring. Though I like the swap for George, Iki's memory loss going from minuscule things to suddenly his parents feels like something that should have been a whole fleshed out arc ages ago. It's not an F, it's not an A, I'm willing to meet in the middle and give it a C. Man, it's been ages since I even had to use that graphic. Wow. The issue that I had with this episode really stems from Iki. The memory loss that he's had up to this point has been pretty minuscule, as I mentioned. The only one really giving us light to it was the whole arc regarding his soccer buddy. But going from random memories forgotten to this one henshin from Vice resulting in him forgetting his parents? That's reaching. This should have been a plot point that happened way earlier on, to really give the show that family dynamic of trying to help Iki, besides him trying to help them out. That is, unless they're trying to go full scorched earth and we have a blank slate Iki by the end of it all. Okay, here's to random speculation, but they kind of just threw this out there and we know where they're going with this. Because, look, the stain that Tamaki finds upstairs is clearly old and the weekend base has been vacant besides the basement. Since Masumi is the founder of the weekend house is really George's childhood home. Though, they put it right out there with the photo Hiromi finds in Masumi's pocket. There's the stain. There's the stain. It's right there. Though, it's just ironic that they never even made a motion of that. Since you gotta go through the whole house to get to the base, George should have recognized, hey, I grew up here. But no. They threw this in last second, and that's what pisses me off about the entire thing. Is this should have been seeds you planted ages ago, not just now. It's like they just thought of this last week. George's turn down this path I pretty much accurately predicted last week, though this shift seems a little bit more amped up to an 11 this episode. If the change in character was something that was laid out in the Battle Familia movie, then it's a complete disservice for those of us who are unable to watch that movie. Either way, I guess we'll just have to see how this plays out. Can Geats just premiere already? Anyway, what did you think about the change in story and how this final arc will play out? You think we're gonna get a bittersweet ending to the show, like, say, Blade? Or will things just work out in the end? Anyway, that's it for me. I will see you all on the next one. Here's hoping that Don Brothers is at least able to give me a nice palate cleanse from all this. Until then, bye.